This is a budget build of a flight simulator using Xplane pilot to pilot ATC. Primarily, this flight simulator is to use with the Zebo mod Boeing 737-800, but it also works with any other Xplane aircraft. And I also have the GTN plugin for the GTN 750. This has nothing to do with the software or loading the software. This is a purely mechanical setup that I designed for my basement. I built a platform for the rudder pedals because as they come out of the box, they sit flat on the floor and they tend to slide away from you when you press on them with your feet. So I took a small sheet of plywood, 21.5 inches by 24, to mount the pedals to it. It's much more comfortable, works really good. The bottom of this is a little bit on the makeshift side because I just kept adding some wood to make it to my floor so that it would be level and it wouldn't wobble. They're not the greatest thing in the world. I mean, once they're in, they work all right, but they just have some rubber pads on the bottom. There's not much of any way to keep this from sliding away. So what I've done is I mount them here, and they come with these two little mounting brackets. You have almost it's like an aircraft floor here to rest your feet on, and then you got the rudder pedals. What I originally did was I took some of these clamps that are available at any hardware store, and I drilled a couple holes in them, and I mounted them thinking this would hold the casters on the rollaway office chair, but they just kept coming loose. So I don't really use this part of it anymore. I just took these square tubing and I welded here so that the casters would fit inside these square enclosures so the chair can't roll back. Now what I did here is I took some photographic backcloth material that's readily available on the internet, which comes with a pocket along one edge of it, and this is half-inch EMT electrical conduit, and I bent this into sort of an oval shape, and what this does, this will surround the simulator, the computer, and the chair to give you more of an immersive experience because you're within an enclosure and it blocks out all the other distractions in the room. One of the first items of business for any flight simulator is a decent PC. I built this PC for video editing as an inexpensive video editing machine. I would recommend anybody who's going to be using Flight Simulator to build a gaming computer, but it seems to work okay. I have several hard drives here to store video files on. That's what all this extra wiring is behind. Now, the screen, the upper screen, I'm going to use two screens for Flight Simulator, an upper and a lower. The upper is at about a 30-degree angle, so I can display the upper forward control panel in a 737. And the way I did this was I purchased a wall mounting bracket. They're readily available at Walmart, not expensive. And I did some welding and fabricating to get this to attach to my basement ceiling. I mounted it upside down, which means that the spring that would normally hold the weight of the monitor is pushing in the wrong direction. It's pushing down instead of up. But it worked out okay because that's approximately the height I needed this to be at. And I installed a light duty cable here that it's a green cable you can buy at Home Depot by the foot, to adjust the height up a few inches up and down to get this so that it would match the lower monitor. And this, of course, the monitor can pivot back and forth, so you can line them up really well. So I felt that putting a monitor, an upper monitor, instead of monitors on each side was more advantageous, instead of having the ability to look out the windows. If you want to use Flight Simulator for actual, flying practice, instrument practice, you're going to be looking forward 99% of the time. This is just a desk that I put in, a triangular desk to use as a computer workstation down in my basement. The first thing I needed to address was a way to clamp the yoke, the honeycomb yoke, to this table, and there's not enough room under here to do that the way this table is built. So I fabricated up a little extension board. Once those are tight, I put a couple of screws in here just to keep it sturdy. Now the next thing is the honeycomb bracket here, that you could stick it down or you can clamp it down. I'm not using the sticky stuff. I'm just going to screw this down and then clamp it. Now comes more fabricating. This here, these two brackets here, with the knobs and thread holes, they were part of the honeycomb yoke. What I did was I welded on a couple of hinges here and made a wooden platform to have my keyboard down below. If you didn't do that, these still would work the same. This will go over the top and it will clamp. Okay, so now not only do we have the yoke mount very sturdy on the bench, we also have an adjustable keyboard platform. From this point on, everything is easily attached. Just drop it in place and drop down these back legs. Okay. And then it just plugs in with the USB, a lower monitor. I have it adjusted so that it just sits pretty perfect. Let's plug in the power. And the HDMI cable. You need a mouse, so I'll put the mouse pad here, like that, for the throttle and flaps. As a private pilot, I fly a Piper Cherokee. I went to the Cherokee and I measured the distance from the throttles to the yoke and the distance, the drop from the center down, and I put these in the exact same location. The butt kicker unit, which is a little amplifier, it converts sound into vibrations. Plugging in power and the sound input, and then you've got your sound output, and then you have a remote control for this, and that just simply goes right here. We'll turn this on or off. The light goes green, and you can adjust the volume while you're using it. I found this not to be quite as simple as you might think. But anyways, once it's in place, it's fine. I marked the carpet here so I know where to position it. Okay, we're going to power this up. As it's powering up, we're going to see we have some indicator lights. We have a green light on the rudder pedals. We have a green light on the throttle quadrant right there. Those are all good signs. And the honeycomb yoke is lit up with LEDs. So everything's connected. We have a mouse, I hope, and we do. And we're going to click on Xplane. While it's booting up, I will show my place to put my coffee cup, which is at an angle. To the right, I have an electrical panel that supplies power to a floor heater underneath, down in there, if necessary, and an overhead light to light up the cockpit during pre-flight planning, which is here. I have a powered speaker up above that I have a switch to turn that on and off if I'm not using the headsets. I also put a headset and microphone jack. Xplane is now powered up. Looks like it's pretty successful. And there is the entire display with both of the monitors showing the forward view out the windshield and the forward overhead panel, switch panel for the Boeing 737. I use the Zibo mod. The Garmin plug-in is now powered up. And besides the Boeing system on this 737, I can also navigate with the Garmin system, set up approaches, etc. Like this. And you position this approximately where it's going to be. Move the curtain over to find the grommet that I put in. There's a grommet here. Install this through the bracket. With a wing nut to get it started. Okay. This will slide back. It'll bump against a wood block here. I'm going to bring this forward so I get the grommet on this side visible. Like that. But I have a port here to get to the switches and position this cutout over the monitors like this. Here we are. A pretty immersive flight simulator with a ceiling fan and floor heat, overhead lighting, iPad, place for your coffee cup, and a comfortable office chair. And when you're inside, it can be fully enclosed, totally immersed in Xplane 11 and in comfort. The only thing I didn't mention is the headset, which is extremely important if you're going to communicate with air traffic control. It is a Razer headset with a built-in microphone